All right, everybody, welcome back to TexAgs High School Football Show. Ryan Brauninger and Jason Howell, the TexAgs recruiting team, here to preview and review the last week and upcoming week in Texas high school football. Just wrapped up week 9, looking at week 10 across the state, and we are 1 week away. Is that right, Jason? Or we just wrapped up week 10, we're looking at week 11. It all runs together.
It's week 11 that we're looking at, and playoffs are just over
on deck. Yeah, playoffs are on deck, and this is the last full slate of games across the state. So the last time we will have this amount of volume of Texas high school football games until next August. So drink it in, savor it if you're like Jason and I, where you enjoy one of my favorite things to do is when I get home from the road on Friday nights is just checking the scores from across the state.
Yeah.
You know, I follow a lot of the local news guys from Greater Houston, and I'm looking at highlights and that kind of stuff. I know you do the same. So the last full slate heading into the playoffs. So, Jason, we'll start with you like always. In Dallas last week, you saw the Battle of the Acts. You saw some really good players, some really cool atmospheres. Kind of recap your weekend.
Well, I started it off at McKinney ISD with Longview, McKinney North.
Upset.
Kind of went in thinking this one, should get a nice little interview after the game. Could be a breezy little, fourth quarter. Sit back and relax. And North McKinney had some other plans. And it was a windy day during pregame, and I think that kind of altered some plans a little bit. But during the game, once the game started, the wind died down and was never really a factor. Longview just had some, played. It wasn't their best game. I'll just put it that way. They had quite a few penalties. They had some costly turnovers, and just really never got on track. In the second half, McKinney North did a great job of answering when Longview came out and started to be Longview, and they were able to pull it out at the end, 37-35. I thought Taylor Tatum was probably my player of the game for Longview. He, as far as a prospect, he really flashed. Had a 95-yard kickoff return called back, but you could see the explosiveness and the vision and everything there. And he had a couple touchdowns and really showed well. Jalen Hale came out of the second for the second half looking like he was ready to go, and they fed him the ball a lot more there in the second half, but it just wasn't enough. And I give credit to McKinney North and everything they did. Elijah Alexander, 4 touchdowns, and just a big win for that program as they look towards the playoffs. And then, like you said, I was at Marcus in Flower Mound there for the Battle of the Axe, and another upset. Louisville came in, undefeated on the season, and Marcus was the home team. But it's one of those things you got to throw out the records with these rivalry games, and this one's a big one for those two teams. And credit to Marcus. Marcus came out. It was a real defensive first half. Went to halftime 13-10 with Marcus, and then the offense just really exploded there in the second half, especially for Marcus, and they were able to pull away for the win. Ashton Cozart had the first receiving touchdown of the second half, and Marcus never looked back after that. But like you said, a lot of talent on the field. Jaden Hardy didn't play. He was out with a collarbone injury, and he'll miss a few weeks. But he's overall. I thought Marcus did a great job of handling Amani Winfield, who's putting together a really good year, and Damian Martinez, who Oregon State commit, that I think is one of the more undervalued guys in the state. Just a big hard runner, and he they held him to I think one score.
Curse of the commentator,
But
right, with
yeah,
Louisville. We've been talking them up too much, so
yeah,
it's
yeah, I
our fault.
know.
Curse of the commentator there. Well, I started my week Thursday. It was very windy in Houston on Thursday and Friday, and the wind played a factor in
Yeah.
both of the games that I saw. Started
Mm.
Thursday between Cy Park and Cy Ranch. Jimbo Fisher in attendance, Steve Sarkeesian, a
There you
representative from the LSU coaching staff there to see Harold Perkins, and he absolutely put on a show as Cy Park pulled away and let Cy Ranch end
Yeah.
up. They pulled away, and Cy Ranch kind of slowly, steadily made their way back into the game and ended up 50-43 win for Cy Park, and they clinch a district championship there and just made history for the second time in as many years. Last year was their first time making the playoffs. This year, their first district championship, and one of the more undervalued backs in the greater Houston, Cameron King, had a fantastic night, and somebody's going to get a steal there. There were some FCS schools there watching, and I'm going, all right, man, like how do you watch this kid play and not just immediately pull the trigger after the game on an offer? But I did want to recognize and spotlight him because he was fantastic. Obviously, Harold Perkins looks like he could be the top-rated running back in the state if he wanted to be. I mean, that's how explosive and electric he is with the ball in his hands. Actually, one of the turning points in the game, Jason, was they actually stripped Perkins and returned it. Cy Ranch did and returned it for a touchdown. And I think it either cut the lead to 7 or either tied it. It was like one of the big swinging points in the game.
Yeah.
The first play of the very next drive, they hand it to Harold. He goes 79 yards for a touchdown. On literally the play after he fumbled and they returned it, he makes it right up. And that's just like, it speaks to obviously the kind of talent that he is, but also speaks to the kind of competitor that he is, that he wanted the ball right back in his hands. So he's a 5-star for a reason. He's the most athletic linebacker. I've told you this, most athletic linebacker prospect I've ever covered. He's our state's #1 player for a reason. Just an absolutely outstanding performance from him. And I want to say congratulations to Coach Rogers and the Cy Park Tigers on their district championship. And then I saw another district champion crowned on Friday night, and I went down to Galveston County and saw Dickinson against Clear Springs. A trio of A&M commits in that one as Dickinson boasts P.J. Williams and Donovan Green against Clear Springs' Noah Thomas. Noah Thomas had a good game. Probably not. He would probably tell you what one of his better games. He fumbled a kickoff, ended up going out of bounds. Had some probably missed PI calls against him. Didn't go his way on some balls. Did have a touchdown catch, so he ran his touchdown total to 14 in 7 games. Just, again, has had a fantastic season there. But wasn't enough. And Donovan Green and P.J. Williams and the Dickinson defense and Luke Martin, their quarterback, they play really fast. They do a good job of like kind of getting you on your heels. They'll pound you with the running backs. They got a bunch of different running backs there. Coach Nelson calls the offense, and they'll do pound you, and then here goes Donovan Green up the seam. And really, Donovan had over 100 yards receiving, could have been closer to 200 had they been able to connect on some balls down the seam early. I said that wind played a factor, just missed him on 2 throws that one would have been probably a 60-yard touchdown. The other one would have been a 30 or 40-yard reception. So Donovan could have put up an incredible night if they had just been able to get on the same page. But Dickinson pulls away, ends up beating Clear Springs, and wins a district championship. Very well deserved there for Coach Nelson and company. So I was looking around Houston. I'm sure you got some scores there in Dallas that caught your eye. I do want to mention that we've kind of glossed over North Shore because of what they lost. They lost early in the year. And all they've done is just start rattling off win after win, and impressive in that really tough district. And they beat Atascocita by 10 last week and now have moved themselves, I believe, North Shore is all the way up to number 7 in the state and playing their best ball at the right time as we get ready for playoffs. Just a really impressive 10-point win for Coach K and company. Atascocita is a team that we both thought, and they still can certainly make it out of this Houston area and a run at the state title. But, Jason, were there any scores like that caught your eye up there in the Metroplex?
The one that really jumped out to me was Prosper over Allen, 28-23. Allen's looked sharp at times, and and then they've had some road, bumps in the road there. But Yeah, Prosper is a team that's always played Allen tough, and this year they were able to get over that hump and get the win. I still view Allen as a real dangerous team going into the playoffs, but they definitely have the talent to make a run. I mean, Prosper going in and handling some business in a big district game.
You know, one game that I mentioned last week, and I talked about it, maybe the one hiccup for a Cinderella story in Katy Pato was Manville, and Manville being a giant in South Houston in that 5A Division I, and certainly lived up to their status as they beat Katy Pato, and now Manville has jumped up to number 8 in the state rankings ahead of Pato at number 9. But Manville wins 33-28, another huge matchup. And as we get toward the end of the season, Jason, and we start looking at this final week of the regular season, there are very few undefeated versus undefeated games left on the slate. And we're going to get to where you're going, but I did want to talk about, we've got one right here in our own backyard in College Station as the Cougars and Coach Huff travel to Magnolia West. The number 2 ranked College Station Cougars going on the road to the number 10 now Mag West Mustangs in a battle of undefeateds and for a district championship. I will say, College Station has outscored their last, was it 3 opponents? I believe their last 3 opponents. Yeah. Maybe 4, but 3 or 4 opponents, 216-0.
My goodness.
They are absolutely rolling people. Magnolia West obviously navigated their schedule undefeated, but has not had the type of blowout games that College Station has. And again, I'm just waiting to see that bracket come out because College Station versus Denton Ryan is going to happen. It's going to happen early, and it's going to be must-see Texas high school football.
Shoot, I was looking at some projections. I got to give credit to Matt Stepp and the crew over there at Texas football, but they put out some playoff projections, and their 5A D1 Region 2 included Denton Ryan, Highland Park, Frisco Lone Star, and College Station.
Yep.
I mean,
Colleyville Heritage.
I mean, those are
Colleyville Heritage number 6 in the state right now.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, there's just so much, right there.
Yeah, that's the toughest region and division in the state. I think 5A Division.
I don't know. 5A D2, they had Lovejoy, Aledo, Ennis, and South Oak Cliff. Yeah. So. I mean,
Dallas is. It's hard for me to see a Houston team. It's hard for me to pick a Houston area team and say they're going to win a state championship in any of the divisions right now. Katy would probably be the number 1, but Katy's shown some chinks in the armor up to this point this year. And when they get kind of in one of the better teams in the region or one of the better teams in the state, we'll see how they hold up. Obviously, we said that about them last year. They went to Jerry World and blew the doors off of Cedar Hill with no issue, but. A lot with 6A is going to determine those enrollment numbers, who's going D1, who's going D2. So how all that unfolds is going to be really interesting. But that 5A Division I Region 2 bracket, boy. And we're not even talking about Longview, who you've seen a couple of times. They'll be in it as well. So
after that roadblock, how big of a deal is that? I mean, they got a big one this week talking about upcoming games. Yeah. They got to go play John Tyler. I think that one's in Tyler. Let me see. No, that's in Longview, but still
East Texas battle.
That is a big one for them.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's another big one in the Hill Country. Austin Westlake against Lake Travis, the only test that Westlake will probably get until they get to a regional final or a state semifinal. They may end up being a rematch with Lake Travis somewhere down the line. So that one's coming up this week. Jason, where are you headed?
I am going to be going to I got Denton Braswell versus Allen this week. Get out to see the Umazula brothers, Nato and Zena, who now both have offers from Texas A&M, and 5-star 2023 defensive lineman DJ Hicks. And then I'll be out in Argyle on Friday night to see Jaden Scarlett on senior night as they take on Paris, which should be a pretty stout little ball game, man.
Paris is pretty good. Yeah, they're pretty good. Well, I am headed on Thursday to see Atascocita host Beaumont Westbrook. Still uncertain of the status of Texas A&M commit Bryce Anderson. He set out last week He's been playing with that shoulder injury all year. Beaumont Westbrook has to win to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing he's going to try to go if he can at all. And Atascocita will want to bounce back after their loss to North Shore. Then on Friday, taking a little – I don't think I'd call this Greater Houston, but I'm going down to El Campo to see 2023 running back Reuben Owens take on Needville, a 2,000-yard rusher in Reuben Owens. Certainly playing at a smaller school with his elite talent, you'd think he'd have an advantage. But when the numbers match it like to that degree, that's a pretty special season. So I'm excited to see Reuben play, and I'm thinking El Campo, on the back of his running ability, will have a good little playoff run upcoming there for the Ricebirds. Jason, it's almost playoff time, so it means we'll be putting in some predictions and putting our necks on the line here pretty soon. But it's been fantastic just to get back on the road in normal high school football again.
Absolutely. And I got to throw out a few games to watch out here in the DFW area. Lone Star versus Denton Ryan should be just a phenomenal matchup, back and forth. It's always a big one. Hebron at Louisville is another one to keep an eye on, and DeSoto at Waxahachie. That's not going to be a cakewalk for DeSoto. Waxahachie is a real deal, and they've got some good things brewing down there. So, but yeah, I love it. Can't wait. Looking forward to the playoffs and the run up to AT&T in Jerry World.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to the TexAgs High School Football Show. We'll see you next week.